Greetings, welcome to your weekly energy forecast, discussion, exploration project. Welcome to this space, welcome to this time, whenever you happen to see this. Honestly, forgive me first and foremost because I'm not in the best of physical states for this reading. I literally feel as though my brain is in compression, and I think I have a sinus infection, to be perfectly honest with you, because that's usually what causes this kind of discomfort, and I've had some dizziness and things. So I am showing up and doing my very best, and I am actually handing the reins over entirely to the powers that be, because that's probably the only way we're going to get through this. I actually went straight into pulling the cards just now before I did a very minor meditation in advance and just kind of emptied out my vessel so that I can work with spirit to bring some clarity. Now, aside from the fact that this last week was intense, chaotic, full of turmoil, underlying jousting, a bit of unraveling, a bit of recalibration, all of this combined with an underlying sense of there being hostility or discomfort in a variety of different ways. However that applies to you, I hope that it was less foggy than it was for me, but I am still here, as are you, and we're about to head into Mercury retrograde Monday, tomorrow, when I'm recording this, that is. This Mercury retrograde, of course, occurring as we are about to move into we're still in the first decan of Libra, so all of this is about addressing balance within the self, tempering the decisions and choices that we've made and faced, and with the how that resonates with us on our destined paths. So we're getting into that crunch of preparing all of that stuff, having to dot the I's and cross the T's before we move into the collective experience, because after that it's going to be how the imbalances, or what is imbalance within yourself, interacts with the world around you. Mercury retrograde is, of course, an opportunity to revisit the intense flow of energy that has taken place in the last, certainly in the last 30 days. So there will be the opportunity to revisit key issues. Anywhere that there has been discomfort, a sense of regression, stagnation, frustration, even where there's been a sense of enormous progress and freedom or liberation or evolution, we will be given over the course of the next 30 to 45 days the opportunity to fine-tune our experience and understanding of those experiences. Venus opposing Uranus has been very intense. You may have sensed a little bit of a volatility in the way that you feel about other people, about the things that you actually appreciate and don't appreciate in your life. that is a wavering process that exists within, and we have to focus on our own truth surrounding whatever that means. But obviously Uranus is very volatile and electric and causes us to evolve and shift and change in unexpected ways. And opposing Venus, this would be directly in conjunction with the things that we like or don't like, or the things that we appreciate and don't appreciate. You may even be going through a little bit of a transformative period where you feel that your identity, based upon what you traditionally are impassioned by or attracted to, is in flux. And subsequently that can cause a bit of inner turmoil and chaos, which is also what Mercury is giving us the opportunity to work through. Mister, you can't go up there, I'm very sorry. Just stay down there, or you stay on my lap, whichever you want. If you want to stay on my lap, by all means. But no, you're not standing in front of the camera. Come here. So yeah, so that in essence is, there are other aspects involving Mars in our astrology that I will not get into. Just expect to be, by the end of this week, I think that we're going to reach a point where we really do have a bit of an unleashing of bottled up energy, where things do suddenly shift forward much more rapidly and in a much more defined and manageable way. But in the meantime, there is a good deal of chaos that we're still navigating, so prepare yourselves for that. I am actually prepared for an intense week. I think that's really the only way for me to sum it up. So, on that note, I don't think I'm going to discuss astrology any further this week, and we're going to just get into the cards. They are a mixed bag. There's some pretty intense messages from a metaphysical perspective that I think that we will all be able to relate to. You know what? No, I'm gonna put this up, but you can't come up now. Sorry. We have a strong emphasis on the need to find inner peace, to be inner peace. Don't do it. No, sorry. I really don't have very much patience today, the way that I feel, so I apologize if you're seeing this on camera, but I feel very overburdened right now. Burned out, that's what I feel. Actually, maybe I will just have a bit of a 5-minute discussion about that before I get into the cards. Because if we're looking for peace, it's probably important for us to explore where there's a lack of peace. I am so tired of duplicity. I am so tired of a lack of honesty. And that goes on all levels of the microcosmic aspects of my life as much as it does on the macro level. How are we supposed to exist without truth in our hearts and in our environment, which is just a reflection of our hearts, you know? And how do we take responsibility for that when, for example, when you have governments that are corrupt and blatant liars, when you have media that facilitates all of that, when you have corporations who have nefarious intent, you know, when all of these things come together and then trickle down into the culture, and then that becomes the norm for people, and they are so brainwashed and so far gone into that that they don't even see that duplicity and how little it serves them. What part of that is our responsibility? I mean, I have disconnected enormously from mainstream culture as a result of my disgust for these things, but at the same time, I still function in the 3D world, as do you. How do we integrate all of this? How do we find our center? How do we find our center of gravity and our direction when there is so much that can cause animosity and imbalance? Well, I suppose the answer is faith. As simple as that sounds. I'm sure that can come across as a bit Pollyanna-ish if you're feeling a little bit frustrated yourself, or even downright flat on your back, drunk on insanity. And don't get me wrong, when I'm speaking to you, this is not the face of hopelessness at all. On the contrary, it's just there are these energetic impasses when there's such a hyper concentration of dense energies that have to be moved through and categorized and broken down and filtered. It's a filtering process. That it's quite easy to become overwhelmed, and in being overwhelmed, we lose our inspiration, and then we can become very jaded, or we can become disenfranchised, or we can become essentially separate, which is the antithesis of where we want to be. So that has been the energy of the times. And that is not to say that there are not moments of joy, beauty. There has been a little bit of loss and sorrow on the horizon. And there has been a lot of control issues. And I'm using all of these words because we will visit all of these themes in the reading. So, let us begin. And we're going to begin, of course, with our Spirit Animal Oracle card of the week, which is to center us in the energy that is required for us to navigate this week to the best of our ability and to our advantage and to the advantage of our purposefulness. Dove Spirit, number 21, Be Peace, adds up to a 3. Beginning of a new miracle journey. With her peaceful cooing, the gentle dove spirit invites you to embrace the energy of peace and allow compassion to warm your heart. You always have the power to generate peace within you, and the appearance of dove spirit is a reminder that today and every day is a good day to meditate, to quiet any turbulence within as you embody tranquility. Above, below, and all around you, much may be happening to distract you, but you are called to engage it with the heart of a peacemaker, asking yourself, what would peace do? Can you agree to disagree? The peace you seek rises within and spreads out into the world as Spirit sends her messenger to remind you of the beauty of a harmonious existence with all that is. How beautiful and how powerful is your compassionate heart. From a protection perspective, we can interpret this a little bit differently with a little bit more advice. So let's dig into that. However disturbed the waters around you, however troubled your heart, Dove Spirit is there to remind you that peace without begins within, as you reconnect with Spirit through practices that awaken you from spiritual amnesia. And yes, of course I can relate to that, because on multiple occasions this week I wanted to help myself, and I self-sabotaged by not doing the spiritual work. I did not choose to meditate or do a guided meditation. Instead, I chose to numb myself and go into escapist nonsense. which of course serves its purpose in its own way occasionally, but it should not become a habit, right? So there you have it. I can vouch for that in my own life. Your true nature is a peaceful child of spirit, but how easily you forget. You're being invited to sit in the cozy, safe nest of spirit. Soon the waters will become still and you will feel peace again. Be compassionate with yourself at this time, for all of us can forget that peace is always at hand, always there, gifted to us by spirit. Become the peace you wish to see in the world so you can reduce any suffering, performing acts of kindness and radiating love. Dove Spirit also reminds you that when you see inequity or someone harmed or in need, trust that you have the capacity to bring peace through smiling, sending love, speaking a kind word, and listening with a compassionate heart. Do your part to be a peacemaker, nourishing compassion, reminding others of the joy of harmonious coexistence so that they may embrace the dove spirit within themselves too. So we lead by example, and the only way that we can lead by example is to actually embody the values that we want to lead by example with, which means we have to do the spiritual work, Alex. Right? Okay, I will double up on that with our Sufi Wisdom Oracle card of the week, which is more specific, silencing the mind. Let silence guide you to your inner peace. Rumi says, I am a mirror, I am a mirror. I am not a person of words. I am revealed when your eyes become listening ears. Open the window to your heart and commune with me in silence. This oracle comes to set you free from uncharitable words and encourage you to silence when you face prejudiced adversity. Let peace surround you. Guard your sanctuary and avoid dwelling on negative thoughts. Instead of a defensive or vengeful response, create a peaceful atmosphere where you can be what you truly are. Listen to your heart. Let the source of life draw you into a nurturing embrace. Dear one, by silencing your mind, you will become more alert and sensitive to your surroundings. This is because a silent mind is devoid of judging, clinging, or rejecting. The silent mind is free from hatred, anger, jealousy, confusion, and conflict. When you are mindful of yourself judging in that moment, the judging will stop. Once you stop judging, you will naturally see things as they are. Eventually, your mind will redirect you toward harmonious living and meaningful relationships with others. Only then does life become exciting, because now you can fully experience each moment in its freshness. You can also see your relationships with others in a totally new light. Here's the mantra. Rather than speaking, turn everything off and listen to the silence. Let it be an inner music that creates your mantra. Feel the calming energy flowing through you and allow it to relax your body and renew your spirit. The tarot cards for this week, which I will get into soon, and the clarifiers from the Osho Zen Tarot deck are intense, to say the least. So, I want to reassure us all with the bigger picture with the two Sacred Destiny Oracle cards that we received, and I will read the messages for us because I think we need every drop of reassurance in all of this. These are the two cards that we get. Change and Miracles. You couldn't really get a more inspiring combination, right? And it would be hard to let's put it this way. This reading would be much more difficult of an energy, and it would be interpreted perhaps towards the negative and the potentiality for aggression and conflict and heaviness if it weren't for these two cards that are always, I mean, the cards that we pull from the Sacred Destiny Oracle card tend to be more etheric. They tend to be more metaphysical. They tend to be more of the spiritual realm. So in many ways, they dictate the essence of the reading as opposed to the details or the direction of it. So everything in this reading is imbued with a goal of change through miracles. So that's where we can find empowerment and reassurance, right? So change we see in the clouds in this particular card. Throughout time, people have looked to the heavens for signs, and in the ever-changing movement of the clouds, they have seen shapes and forms that seem to be direct messages from the Creator. Clouds are shapeshifters. Their essence is the same, but they can change from mist to rain to ice to snow to water. The transient nature of clouds lends the understanding that life is transitory and ever-changing. The Sacred Destiny landscape wants you to know that it's okay to change your mind. It's all right to change directions. You do not need to be consistent. This is the time to put the needs and expectations of others aside and listen to the beat of your own drum. You don't need to follow tradition. Create your own traditions. You are free to express yourself and let your spirit fly. Be daring. Go beyond predictable behavior. Just because something has always been done a certain way doesn't mean that it needs to continue to be done that way. You can't control the exact circumstances of your life, but you can control what meaning you give to them. Select meanings that empower you, for this is the time to be carefree, wild, and unpredictable. And I think that it's important to remember that we can imbue all of our experiences with that, even the most mundane aspects of our lives, even tedious, repetitive acts or experiences that are dictated by the rules and edicts of the infrastructures that we work for or live within. So here's your invitation to do that. And I think the notion of changing your mind is not so much necessarily about doing a 180 on something that you've committed to, although Mercury retrograde does very often at least put us in that sort of Seven of Wands, Seven of Pentacles energy, where we are at a vantage point where we have to consider which direction we are headed in, and the one that we've committed to may need some tweaks, and that's the opportunity to make those changes within the changes we have committed to. You know, nothing is absolute. There's a lot of gray matter in life that can be addressed at any given time, and our mindset is what sort of pushes us to handle these things in one way or another. And why not do it to our own advantage, and certainly to improve our chances of enjoyment, right? Miracles are represented here by the double rainbow. After the storm, the rainbow appears. No matter where we are, the instant a rainbow splashes across the sky, we usually stop and stand in awe. Some say that rainbows are messages from the Creator. Others say that they are a part of an electromagnetic spectrum phenomenon. But no matter the explanation for their existence, rainbows have struck awe in the hearts and souls of many through time. Many traditions believe that rainbows are blessings from the Creator. A double rainbow is double the blessings. The sacred landscape wants you to know that the storms of the past are passing and your dreams are coming true. No matter what has happened in the past, your future holds abounding miracles. Good fortune, celestial beauty, and the inner divinity are expanding within you. Believe that your life is guided. Trust in the goodness of the universe. A celestial bridge to the heavens is opening for you. Start a health program, invest in your career, or initiate a relationship, and good fortune will manifest. Blessings are flowering in all directions. Believe that you deserve the best, because you do. Bounty, joy, blessings, and miracles are flowing your way. And believing is half the process, right? I mean, a lot of the time, it's like we can sit around, like, for example, with my hedge fund that I'm in. It's very easy. Yes, I just, in all honesty, just need to take a little bit of time away from the world to focus, well, to focus on not focusing and to rest, because I am pretty tired, and it's not, well, some of it's sleep deprivation tired, some of it is body abuse tired, some of it's overworking my body physically, some of it is mental exhaustion, some of it is being useless at handling, well, it's not that I'm useless at handling duplicity, I handle it very astutely and professionally, which is why I'm put in the positions that I'm put in. However, it is not enjoyable for my soul, and it's taxing on a soul level, right? So we have be peace at the center. Do not forget. See, I can't even express the basic points that I'm trying to make. This is at the center of everything, so remember that. Dove Spirit, be peace, no matter what this week. Find your peaceful center and focus on enjoyment. As long as enjoyment isn't at the expense of anything else or anyone else, you can't really go wrong, right? Okay, so we are going right now into our tarot cards of the week, and what are we coming out of? Well, here is a interesting dilemma, because I can relate to this very well, and I want to talk about this a little bit. We have the Four of Cups, and we have the Nine of Pentacles. Now, these could seem to be competing concepts. The Four of Cups is a dissatisfaction fundamentally on a soul level with the circumstances of our lives from an emotional perspective. It is withdrawal. It is the inability to step beyond the discomfort, the misery, the self-limitation of having become cynical or jaded, less open to what is on offer. And we have that depiction here. This is the universe offering this cup to this surly gentleman under the tree, who is sitting contemplating the three cups in front of him that he is not satisfied with. These are not good enough for him. Clearly he's not enticed by them, but he's so focused on what he isn't enticed by that he cannot see the miracle, the Ace of Cups, being offered to him. So again, I relate to that because I'm going through a process in my life at work where I'm having a real comeuppance, and essentially a promotion would be a way of putting it, but it has not been handled as a promotion, and subsequently I haven't really been able to process it with the sort of sense of glory or recognition that one might anticipate, and I can't go into details about that due to confidentiality and due to the simple fact that that's not that interesting to anybody watching this. But so I can relate very much to the Four of Pentacles, or the Four of Cups, as an energy that I'm coming out of. But the duplicity is here in full force with the Nine of Pentacles, because this is self-satisfaction. This is being able to provide for oneself. This is being in that space where it's like, well, I don't really need more friends, or I don't really need a busy social life, because I've cultivated a relationship with myself that allows me to enjoy the stability and security that I can provide for myself. But because it is in correlation with the Four of Cups, we have to look at its less evolved context, which is too much focus on the self, too much limitation through expectation, and also cutting one's nose off to spite one's face when it comes to opportunities around them. So the lesson there is essentially to focus on moving beyond, well, that is what everything that we've experienced in the recent times is forcing us to do, to move beyond this combination of energies. Because this is really, I don't see one clarifying the other. I see these as dueling states of mind that keep us stuck. And because I don't necessarily have the words due to my feeling like I've had a brain aneurysm, I'm going to rely immediately on the Osho Zen Tarot card, which is represented by the King of Swords, Control. And I think that we will have some hints as to what the lesson has been in moving out of that dueling prison, essentially. And I will let you see this card because I think that the card energetically sort of speaks for itself. It's a very masculine card, a very yang energy, and there's something aggressive, authoritarian about it even, which is not necessarily how the King of Swords should be always perceived, but it can gravitate towards that. Yeah. Actually, I'll hold it up as I read, sorry. There is a time and a place for control, but if we put it in charge of our lives, we end up totally rigid. The figure is encased in the angles of pyramid shapes that surround him. Light glitters and glints off his shiny surfaces, but does not penetrate. It's as if he is almost mummified inside this structure he's built up around himself. His fists are clenched and his stare is blank, almost blind. The lower part of his body beneath the table is a knife point, a cutting edge that divides and separates. His world is ordered and perfect, but it is not alive. He cannot allow any spontaneity or vulnerability to enter it. The image of the King of Clouds reminds us to take a deep breath, loosen our neckties, and take it easy. If mistakes happen, it's okay. If things get a little out of hand, it's probably just what the doctor ordered. There is much, much more to life than being on top of things. Right? Because when you are on top of things, you do fall into that Four of Cups energy. And perhaps also the selfishness of the Nine of Pentacles. Controlled persons are always nervous because deep down, turmoil is still hidden. If you are uncontrolled, flowing, alive, then you are not nervous. There is no question of being nervous. Whatsoever happens, happens. You have no expectations for the future. You are not performing. Then why should you be nervous? To control that mind, one has to remain so cold and frozen that no life energy is allowed to move into your limbs, into your body. If energy is allowed to move, those repressions will surface. That's why people have learned how to be cold, how to touch others and yet not touch them, how to see people and yet not see them. People live with cliches. Hello, how are you? Nobody means anything. These are just to avoid the real encounters of two people. People don't look into each other's eyes. They don't hold hands. They don't try to feel each other's energy. They don't allow each other to pour. Very afraid, somehow just managing, cold and dead in a straitjacket. Well, that was just awful, right? So we don't want to be there. But I can see how that probably is part of the reason why I feel cranially challenged right now, is because it's very contrary to the needs of this time to be so controlling, and yet because I have felt in so much duplicity and so much turmoil and chaos and trying to stay on top of it and trying to be the beacon of light, trying to be the voice of reason, trying to be the person that smooths everything over, it means that I've taken on everything, like in that control mechanism, and subsequently I'm paying a price for it, because the reality is everybody else just moves along and moves on, and I'm drowning in the amalgam of the experiences, right? So hopefully you can't relate to that, but if you can, something to think about. We move into our central energy of the upcoming week, what we are actually working through in present times. And it's interesting. Here we get the reinforcement of the chaos with the 8 of Wands. We got 3 cards, by the way, at the center of our reading. The chaos being about communication. It's about, this is very Uranian. It's a lot of energy coming in, electric, fast. You know, that kind of communication that you have to respond to, you have to contextualize and process and act upon immediately. That. And where is this communication taking us? Well, it takes us into a place that then we transcend all at once in this process. This is the Uranian energy, Venus, Uranus at the center of our reading, along with Mercury, communication in, with the Libran balance, because what we have is the 10 of Swords. The 10 of Swords is when we have accumulated a lot of experiences and outcomes that have left us feeling, for lack of a better term, dead, or certainly so overwhelmed that our mind is in turmoil. Our mind has been eviscerated, has been overwhelmed to such a degree that deep therapeutic self-care is required in order to understand how to transcend those restrictions. Because that's what 10 of Swords really is. Those are personal restrictions imposed upon yourself, because it's how you've experienced, and that experience has then turned into thoughts, and then the thoughts have become a prison that eventually has taken over our entire life force. So here we have this energetic communication coming in, being able to perhaps finally slow down through the Mercury retrograde to a degree so that we can process things more internally and make more progress externally. So that leads us into confronting where we are bogged down in that 10 of Swords energy to free us in 6 of Swords energy, which is moving away from the chaos and the turmoil of the subconscious mind out of balance into the smooth waters of the horizons of tomorrow, of hope and miracles and peace. So a really beautiful message at the center of this energy of the week ahead, but one that is not uncomplicated by a certain degree of burdensome processes. Again, What do we get to clarify this energy? Well, we look at all of our oracle cards, and I shall recap them just to put it into the trifecta that it is that really reinforces this. And there's a reason why this was the crystal that we were guided to use as our totem of the week. Be peace. Let silence guide you to your inner peace. And our clarifier at the center of our reading, silence. Get the theme? What is silence? I know what silence is. I think it's the moon. The silent, mirror-like receptiveness of a star-filled night with a full moon is reflected in the misty lake below. The face in the sky is deep in meditation, a goddess of the night who brings depth, peace, and understanding. Now is a very precious time. It will be easy for you to rest inside, to plumb the depths of your own inner silence to the point where it meets the silence of the universe. There's nothing to do, nowhere to go, and the quality of your inner silence permeates everything you do. It might make some people uncomfortable, accustomed as they are to all the noise and activity of the world. Never mind. Seek out those who can resonate with your silence, or who enjoy your aloneness. Or you enjoy your aloneness. I don't think you'll be seeking out people who enjoy your aloneness. Now is the time to come home to yourself. The understanding and insights that come to you in these moments will be manifested later on in a more outgoing phase of your life. So interesting. I like that we're being given a direction to be more introspective and to actually take time to be alone. Give ourselves that permission from divine guidance to not isolate, but quieten our lives. And, it's just 7 days in 1 week. If you can make sure that you quieten that time sufficiently, to make sure that you take more time to be in silence and to simply observe, I think we'll all benefit greatly from that. The energy of the whole has taken possession of you. You are possessed, you are no more. The whole is. This moment, as the silence penetrates in you, you can understand the significance of it, because it is the same silence that Gautam Buddha experienced. It is the same silence that Chuan Tzu or Bodhidharma or Nansen. The taste of the silence is the same. Time changes, the world goes on changing, but the experience of silence, the joy of it, remains the same. That is the only thing you can rely upon, the only thing that never dies. It is the only thing that you can call your very being. Interesting, if you reduce yourself, and even the choice of words of reducing is probably indicative of a judgment within myself, right? But if you can experience yourself through silence, limit your experience to silence. What do you become? Who are you? That is a question that I certainly can't answer, and you probably can't either, but it's worth exploring, right? Without the chaos, without the turmoil, without being defined by your job, your relationships, your fights, your lovemaking, your pets, your, even your relationship to the planets. Put that aside, be in silence and see who you are at your soul. That won't come to you in words, it will come to you in feelings. Don't intellectualize it, experience it. That's what we need to do. Our outcome this week is the Page of Swords. Now, very interesting, because I did see this as an influence in my personal longer-term astrology for the coming 6 to 8 weeks. I have an influence of a certain planetary aspect that brings up that there are so many wonderful things taking place right now. And there's such wonderful energy on the horizon and so many fruits to be picked in the coming months. But there's one caveat, and it's all Page of Swords energy, and that is, if you remind yourself that you are a teachable being, that you do not know, that you just do not know. Anything that you think you know, you cannot be sure of, right? Nothing is certain. I mean, we go on the basis that we accept that we are breathing, that we exist as a result of breathing and being able to physically touch ourselves and know that we allegedly exist, which within itself could be existentially disproven in different perspectives. But beyond that physical existence that we accept as the foundation of our time in this body on this earth, everything else is refutable. Everything else is up for grabs. Everything else is not knowledge. It is assumption. So, if we remain teachable at all times, if we see ourselves as the proverbial student of life in every moment, every experience, we accept that everything that comes our way is the opportunity for a new lesson, for a new experience to be then processed as a new version of knowledge that then will be refuted all over again, hopefully in the process of a leveling up. This is what we always talk about with the conscious and the subconscious mind, and how we have conscious experiences that then influence our subconscious processes to evolve and to grow, sometimes to devolve and to shrink too. That can happen depending on how you experience something, depending on your relationship to trauma and where you're at on your evolutionary journey. But the idea is to level up each time that you have a new lesson. And again, it has to remain fluid. It cannot become an absolute. How many times have you found yourself in your journey where you think that things are a certain way? Oh, this is what life is. Well, this is what I'm going to pursue for the rest of your life, my life. And then sometimes 5 years later, sometimes 5 days later, sometimes 5 hours later, you are in chaos and turmoil and having to shift all of those beliefs and rearrange them and make sure that you become teachable again. Because the moment that you stop becoming teachable, all you do is you empty yourself out. You fall constantly back into the cynicism of the Four of Cups. And probably convince yourself through your ego that you are in Nine of Pentacles energy when you are not at all. Because let's face it, the Nine of Pentacles comes right before the Ten of Pentacles, the pinnacle of the Pentacle cards, which is when we have enough for ourselves to be able to unconditionally take care of others and give to others energetically, materially, however you want to look at it. But it's a harmonious synergy and flow, right? So, as soon as you cut yourself off from the source and the perpetual need for expanding knowledge in order to grow, you die, essentially. You're just here in body, but not really in spirit. So that is our outcome. That's where we need to go, and we're going to find out what we let go of and what we process in that process of learning, through all of this energy, through that silence, through that being peace, through that acceptance and openness to miracles, through letting go of the stubbornness of a Four of Cups energy, the closed-mindedness of control. We have sorrow, the Nine of Swords, which interestingly, the Nine of Swords is seen as a worry card in the traditional tarot. So when you think about sorrow being, the Nine of Swords being, or Nine of Clouds as they are in this, being sorrow instead of worry, again, there's a learning experience in that, and understanding that worry is really the fear of sorrow. And sorrow is a fundamental part of life, and it is fundamental to exist in order for us to feel joy, because without sorrow we wouldn't have any clue what joy is, right? So, and then the other card is awareness. That's our real outcome. Like, sorrow is what we're ultimately letting go of in remaining teachable. So let's read both of those and see how they can be contextualized. The images of Ananda, the cousin and disciple of Gautam Buddha. He was at Buddha's side constantly, attending to his every need for 42 years. When Buddha died, the story is told that Ananda was still at his side weeping. The other disciples chastised him for his misunderstanding. Buddha has died absolutely fulfilled. He should be rejoicing. But Ananda said, "You misunderstand. I'm weeping not for him, but for myself, because for all these years I have been constantly at his side, but I have still not attained." Ananda stayed awake for the whole night, meditating deeply and feeling his pain and sorrow. By the morning, it is said, he was enlightened. Times of great sorrow have the potential to be times of great transformation, but in order for transformation to happen, we must go deep to the very roots of our pain and experience it as it is, without blame or self-pity. This pain is not to make you sad, remember. That's where people go on missing. This pain is just to make you more alert. Because people become alert only when the arrow goes deep into their hearts and wounds them. Otherwise, they don't become alert. When life is easy, comfortable, convenient, who cares? Who bothers to become alert? When a friend dies, there is a possibility. When your woman leaves you alone, those dark nights, you are lonely. You have loved that woman so much, and you have staked all, and then suddenly one day she is gone. Crying in your loneliness, those are the occasions when, if you use them, you can become aware. The arrow is hurting, it can be used. Pain is not to make you miserable. The pain is to make you more aware. And when you are more aware, misery disappears. So that is essentially the essence of lesson, right? A lesson requires letting go of a previous assumption. And in life, because everything is changeable and in constant flux, we anchor ourselves in the idea that things are constant, that our parents will forever be there for us, or whoever we love or feel nurtured by, that our linear trajectory will follow the same trajectory as everyone else. That's what school does to us. It teaches us that we're all the same, and that we all somehow are going to follow exactly the same path, and yet none of us do, right? And that's the beauty of life, but it also is, there's a sorrow attached to mourning that sense of belonging, that sense of, you only come into really belonging in community when you hold your own, but you understand that you're a part of the whole, that everyone is. I hope that you're understanding what I'm saying there. I don't think that this is a prediction that we're going to have intense sorrow on display as a result of new events in our lives. I think that Mercury retrograde is probably giving us that opportunity as teachable beings to understand how sorrow has held us back. how sorrow has prevented us from being comfortable in the silence. Because that's really what this Four of Cups speaks to. This person is sitting in silence, but they're sitting in a silence not in contemplative joy, not in teachability, in being closed to everything. So the silence exists outside of this person, but in their mind, not so much. They can't stop themselves from thinking, no, no, no. So much so that there's no room to say yes. And finally, awareness. Another major arcana. The veil of illusion, or Maya, that has been keeping you from perceiving reality as it is starting to burn away. The fire is not the heated fire of passion, but the cool flame of awareness. As it burns the veil, the face of a very delicate and childlike Buddha becomes visible. The awareness that is growing in you now is not the result of any conscious doing, nor do you need to struggle to make something happen. Any sense you might have had that you've been groping in the dark is dissolving now, or will be dissolving soon. Let yourself settle, and remember that deep inside you are just a witness, eternally silent, aware, and unchanged. Unchanged. A channel is now opening from the circumference of activity to that center of witnessing. It will help you to become detached, and a new awareness will lift the veil from your eyes. Now that is ultimately the perfect description of learning, right? Mind can never be intelligent. Only no mind is intelligent. Only no mind is original and radical. Only no mind is revolutionary. Revolution in action. This mind gives you a sort of stupor, burdened by the memories of the past, burdened by the projections of the future. You go on living. At the minimum. You don't live at the maximum. Your flame remains very dim. Once you start dropping thoughts, the dust that you have collected in the past, the flame arises. Clean, clear, alive, young. Your whole life becomes a flame, and a flame without any smoke. That is what awareness is. There's your flame. Namaste.